you very much.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. It's so valuable to have her here at CES to inform business leaders and startups on the next advances in transportation innovation. And as we've said, it's critical that we're having policy discussions here at CES. Secretary Chow announced some exciting news on self-driving vehicles front. And joining me to discuss this news, along with other tech policy topics, is Michael Kratsios, Chief Technology Officer of the United States at the White House. Michael was recently confirmed in this role with enthusiastic support from the tech industry. So please join me in welcoming Michael. Well, first, thank you, Michael. I will say from day one, when you joined the administration, you have engaged the tech industry, and so thank you for that. It's been a couple years now. The kind of important news that the Secretary announced is the importance of self-driving vehicles, and we really do believe that it'll be our best opportunity to create greater mobility. And so the Secretary announced AV 4.0. She went through each kind of iteration, and she mentioned how it was a joint effort. Essentially, the entire alphabet soup of government agencies are working together on this. Can you speak a little bit about the significance of that?
Absolutely. I think it's a big step for autonomous vehicle broadly, the market, and also for the federal government. So our journey began right after inauguration in 2017, and the first iteration of the autonomous vehicle guidance was really trying to give the private sector some guidance about the way that they should be thinking about the development of autonomous vehicles. And then we moved forward with AV 3.0, where we looked at it more from a multimodal standpoint, where it's not just vehicles themselves, but other modes of surface transportation as well. Then we looked back and said, what would be the most valuable effort that we could do as an administration going forward? And we quickly realized that the autonomous vehicle question is not one that is housed solely at the Department of Transportation. It's something that all of our agencies across the entire federal government are focused on, and the only way that we can drive and ensure American leadership in this critical industry of the future is by having all of our agencies work together. And the only sort of group that can help bring that together and command everyone to come to the table and start working together has been the White House. And this joint effort between our office at the White House and DOT has really been a pleasure to work on over the last year. By bringing all these players together, you can finally see how expansive the efforts are across government. So there's kind of two things I want to point to. First is, now if you go and read the document 4.0, you'll be able to find resources and better understand how individual agencies are working towards the necessary pieces of a larger AV puzzle. So that's one. The second thing is really around the research and development piece. A lot of the work that I do in my office is focused on how we can drive technological leadership as a country. And what's unique about the federal government versus many of our peer competitors or even countries around the world is that we have lots of agencies doing incredible work in all sorts of technologies. There's avian-related research being done at the National Science Foundation, at DARPA, it's being done at NASA, and so on. And being able to bring all of these research efforts together in order to drive next-generation discovery in AVs is critical. So we're very excited about this document. I think it sends a strong message to the country and to the world that we're unified as a government to drive American leadership in this important domain.
So one quick question, what does that mean? I mean, the audience is full of technologists, startups, business leaders. What does that document mean for them?
What it means for you guys is that you have a federal government which has come together and said, we want the U.S. to lead in this domain, and we want to give you the tools to do that. So now you can see which individual agencies have jurisdictions over individual parts of a larger AV system, whether it's spectrum-related work is done by different agencies, then safety-related work, and so on. So we're here for you, and the whole of government has come together to drive this leadership position.
So I want to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. You've made some news, but I think it's important for the benefit of the audience. You will find artificial intelligence all throughout CES. Every company, whether it's hardware, software, they are unveiling how they're going to use AI. It is the ingredient technology, and you'll see it throughout the show. But you all, the White House, has kind of taken an approach. And if you could speak a little bit, just want to walk the audience through the American AI Initiative, what the significance is. There was an executive order that the president signed a little less than a year ago. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of just tell us what it is, and then we'll get to some of your
Yeah, absolutely. So again, dating back to 2017, we started identifying what should be the core technological priority in the policy domain for the U.S. government. And we settled on the larger theme of ensuring American leadership in emerging technologies. And then we had the very tough question of what are the core emerging technologies the United States must lead on. And obviously first on the list was artificial intelligence. And over the next year, we worked very diligently to develop the national strategy for the United States on AI, kind of a first of its kind document of how we can ensure, or as we put it, as the president said, maintain American leadership in artificial intelligence. In order to do that, we launched the American AI Initiative, which is our national strategy just last year. Now the strategy really rests on 4 major pillars, and there are 4 efforts that the U.S. government is leading in order to drive its leadership position. The first is in research and development leadership. As I said earlier about autonomous vehicles, the same goes with artificial intelligence. There's research being done across all of government, from our national labs at DOE, to the National Science Foundation, to DARPA, to IARPA, to NOAA, and so on. And our effort is to bring those agencies together and to also reprioritize artificial intelligence as a budget priority. So we're spending nearly $1 billion now on non-defense AI research and development as a federal government. Pillar 2 is around workforce development. And that's critical because it's not only how can we ensure that the next great researchers of artificial intelligence and discoverers are Americans, but also how do we prepare the American worker for the jobs that require artificial intelligence. And a lot of you may have heard or seen Ivanka Trump yesterday speak about the efforts that we're doing to reskill and retrain Americans for 21st century jobs. The third pillar is around regulatory approach. So we want to make sure that we have a regulatory system in the U.S. that encourages innovation in artificial intelligence, doesn't stifle it, but encourages it in a way that still respects the very important civil liberties and other concerns that we as Americans hold dear. And the fourth is around international engagement. We have many competitors around the world and many nations around the world who are actually using artificial intelligence in ways that we Americans are very troubled with. When we see other nations use artificial intelligence to track their people, to imprison ethnic minorities, these are not use cases which we like as Americans or approve of. So we need to make sure that we're able to be leaders in the United States in developing AI and be able to promulgate some of the rules and thoughts we have around the world so we can maintain that leadership position.
I want to talk a little bit more about